Good morning. My name is Adam Mirando, and I'm the Associate Dean of Student Affairs at St. Louis University School of Medicine. It is an honor to welcome you to the annual pre-commencement ceremony for the School of Medicine. We are thrilled to honor the class of 2025 today and highlight their tremendous accomplishments. I'd like to invite Father Dr. Jim Duffy, the Associate Dean for the Clinical Curriculum, to give the invocation. Please stand.
Let us pray. Almighty and ever-loving God, you are the beginning and the end of all things, the Alpha and the Omega. Be with us this day as we gather to celebrate a very joyous transition in the lives of our students. In ending their medical education at St. Louis University, they begin the next phase of their field's training all over the country. We ask you, Lord, to bless their hands with gentle strength, bless their minds with piercing clarity, and bless their hearts with deep compassion. We ask you to fashion them in your own image, that they might be your presence to their patients throughout the earth. Surrounded by their family and friends, professors and colleagues, let them remember your many gifts that have blessed and supported them during the long road of their formation thus far. And send forth your Spirit, Lord, to accompany them always as we proudly send these awesome physicians forward to commence their residency programs. In your holy name we pray, Lord. Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you, Father Dr. Duffy. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Christine Jacobs, the Gerald A. McGuire and Joanne S. McGuire Cura Personalis Dean and Vice President for Medical Affairs at St. Louis University School of Medicine. Dean Jacobs.
Students, faculty, family, and friends, welcome to this remarkable celebration in which we bestow the degree of Doctor of Medicine on these 172 students. Today, graduates, you will enter a profession of service and lifelong learning. Your journey will be unique, but you all share a calling to care for each of your patients with the highest degree of compassion and integrity. You will be honored and humbled by the trust of your patients and your community. You will be challenged by the complexity of the science of medicine. You will experience the joy of a patient's recovery and the sorrow when your efforts fall short. Today, we are proud to celebrate with you both the culmination of 4 years of work and the beginning of your sacred calling as physicians. And joining this celebration, I would like to introduce to you the members of the stage party. Dr. Adam Mirando, Associate Dean of Student Affairs. Dr. Chad Miller, Senior Associate Dean of Undergraduate Medical Education. Dr. Jan Garavaglia, Alumnus and Commencement Speaker. Dr. Jerry Dwyer, University Trustee. Father Dr. James Duffy, Associate Dean of Clinical Curriculum. Dr. Hyrule Choksi, Associate Dean of Admissions. Dr. Marilyn Maxwell, Assistant Dean of Admissions. Dr. Johan Bester, Associate Dean of Pre-Clerkship Curriculum. Dr. William Bowie, Assistant Dean of Student Affairs. Dr. Christina DeZara, Assistant Dean for Scholarly Teaching and Learning. Dr. Julie Gamick, Senior Associate Dean for Graduate Medical Education. Dr. Timothy Havens, Assistant Dean for Clinical Skills. Dr. Catherine Matthews, Associate Dean of Health System Science and Interim Co-Director of the Office of Ignatian Mission in Medicine. Dr. Jane McCoward, Senior Associate Dean of Faculty Affairs and Professional Development. Dr. Adriana Montano, Vice Dean for Research. Dr. Linda Morrison, Assistant Dean of Pre-Clerkship Curriculum. Dr. Timothy Morell, Program Director for Pipeline Development and Student Engagement. Dr. Maurice Redden, Assistant Dean in the Office of Ignatian Mission in Medicine. Dr. Kenesha Thompson, Assistant Dean of Student Affairs. Dr. Katrina Wade, Interim Associate Dean and Co-Director of the Office of Ignatian Mission in Medicine. Our academic department chairs are visionary leaders of the School of Medicine. Many of them are with us today, and I'd like to introduce them at this time. Dr. Justin Antisdell, Department of Otolaryngology. Dr. David Greenberg, Department of Orthopedic Surgery. Dr. Diana Green-Chandos, Department of Neurology. Dr. Leslie Hinyard, Department of Health and Clinical Outcomes Research. Dr. Eric Macias, Department of Psychiatry. Dr. Ravi Nayak, Department of Internal Medicine. Dr. Catherine Robbins, Department of Pathology. Dr. Daniel Rope, Department of Anesthesiology. Dr. Kimberly Scheel, Department of Family and Community Medicine. Dr. Samir Siddiqui, Department of Surgery. And now I would like to introduce our commencement speaker, Dr. Jan Garavaglia. Dr. Jan Garavaglia, AKA Dr. G, is an internationally known forensic pathologist who is a 1982 graduate of St. Louis University School of Medicine. She is the former chief medical examiner for Central Florida and currently works as a forensic consultant in Washington State. She has held faculty positions at the University of Texas Health Science Center and Florida State University College of Medicine. A fellow of the National Association of Medical Examiners and the American Academy of Forensic Sciences, she has served on the editorial board of the American Journal of Forensic Medicine and Pathology. She's been the recipient of multiple community service awards for her work with law enforcement in both Texas and Florida. Dr. Garavaglia is best known as the subject and host of the popular TV show Dr. G, Medical Examiner on the Discovery Network, which in 2008 won an International Health and Medical Media Award for Best Educational Health Series. She has been an expert commentator on numerous national news programs, including multiple appearances on CNN, NBC, ABC, and News Nation, as well as shows such as Oprah, Rachel Ray, and Dr. Oz. She has spoken in South Africa at the invitation of the US State Department and in Belgium by the invitation of the government of Belgium. She's published in multiple scientific journals and is author of the book, How Not to Die, Surprising Lessons in Living Longer, Safer, and Healthier, published in 2008. Dr. Garavaglia is married to Dr. Mark Wallace, a 1981 graduate of St. Louis University School of Medicine, and they have 3 sons. Dr. G.
Well, as a graduate of St. Louis University Medical School, it's truly an honor that I got asked back to speak at your graduation. Although it's been a few years, actually 43 to be exact, I distinctly remember sitting where you are today waiting to graduate. Now, I don't remember the speaker, and I don't remember anything that speaker had to say. And I will not hold that against you if you do the same. But I do remember how I was feeling. I was really happy that I no longer had to pay tuition and go into debt. And I'm sure you're feeling the same. I was a bit sad about leaving my good friends who I'd see every day. And of course, excited and really fearful about what was coming next. But what you should be feeling, first and foremost, is proud. Because I know what you had to go through to get into medical school, and I remember the hard work and dedication it took to get through this medical school. So I congratulate you, each and every one of you. Now, I do thank you for inviting me today, but I really have to question the wisdom of asking a forensic pathologist to speak at graduation. We deal with the dead, and often the gruesomely dead. How inspiring and uplifting can a talk by a forensic pathologist be? But thinking about this, I suspect I was asked to come here today because at least somebody thought I was a success. And you know what? I agree. I am a success, but not because of my TV show on Discovery Health. And I don't consider myself a success because of my tenure as chief medical examiner. There are actually a lot of excellent chief medical examiners that get invited nowhere, let alone to give an address. So I consider myself a success because I am a happy person and I love my job. Think about this. I practice forensic pathology, a field at the low end of the physician pay scale and at the low end of the respect scale in medicine. And I have been doing essentially the same job for 37 years, working with the dead and often the decomposed dead, since I was mostly in Florida. I work with grieving families, a percentage of which are also usually angry at me, either because I have to do an autopsy on their loved one, or they don't like my ruling or my findings. Even worse, I have to deal with lawyers. Now that is bad enough, but the ones that I deal with are often hostile and will attack my integrity and intelligence if they don't like or agree with what I have to say. But in spite of all these perceived negatives, I am a success because I am happy and love my career. I find purpose in my job, and I love finding that kind of elusive diagnosis and being an honest voice for people who people can count on. After 37 years, I remain passionate about my job, whether I'm working on a high-profile case that, oh my God, people can't wait to figure out why they died, or it's a homeless man who died alone. And in reality, nobody will ever read my autopsy report, which I spent hours on. Whatever, I will always care enough to do the best I can for that decedent, the family, and society. Now, how do I or any other physician keep that enthusiasm up throughout their career? Because becoming cynical and burning out is actually a major problem in medicine today. A majority of physicians at some point in their careers will face periods in which they feel overwhelmed, drained, both emotionally and physically, and even believe their decision to enter medicine was a huge mistake. It happened to me, and I'm lucky it happened to me early on. Now, one key element for success in medicine that's been recognized is to find a field of medicine that's a good fit. Well, I thought I had a good fit when I was sitting there where you are. I was going into internal medicine. Now, if you'd have asked me back then, is there any chance I would do forensic pathology? I'd have said, no way. Work with the dead? No. I went into medicine to help people. I was going into internal medicine. Oh, but I soon found my internship in internal medicine incredibly frustrating. I was okay with the hard work. I really enjoyed the responsibility, but I realized there were a lot of people that just wouldn't listen to me, and particularly wouldn't listen to my advice. As you well know, many of the patients' problems are due to their lifestyle, smoking, poor diet, too little exercise, medication noncompliance, missed vaccines, and you know the rest. You know, it was surprising to me that so many people didn't want my advice, even though they were coming to my clinic. I mean, and overall, there were just a lot of angry people. I had a really rough clinic. And I didn't know really how to deal with those angry people. In retrospect, I think I was just young and idealistic, and I didn't know how to process or handle it. I was doing a good job in internal medicine, but boy, was I burning out fast. It just wasn't a good fit for me. I actually toyed with getting out of the idea of just getting out of medicine altogether. And I had to go back and reconsider, what was it that originally drew me to the field of medicine, just in general? Like, why did I go to medical school? Well, I still felt then, as I do today, there is no other profession that performs a greater good for our fellow man or society. And I still believe that in my heart, especially when you practice it with knowledge, care, and compassion. And I loved using that specialized knowledge to solve problems and improve lives. So although my internal medicine, I mean, it's a great field, don't get me wrong, and it offers great intellectual challenges, potential rewards. It's just wasn't a good fit for me. I needed to find something else. Now, while in medical school, I really enjoyed the forensic lectures of Dr. George Gantner. He was a pathologist here at St. Louis University and the first forensic pathologist in the St. Louis area, probably even in the state. And I thought forensic pathology was fascinating. I knew it would be a lot of fun. But I was really hesitant to go into it. And partly because, would I really be helping anyone? So after consulting with Dr. Gantner, he assured me I could meaningfully contribute to society and help the decedents' families by finding answers. And as an added bonus, there was a tremendous amount of problem solving in forensic pathology. So since I was frustrated no one would listen to me, I'd work with patients that didn't have to listen to me. They were dead. I thought, perfect. To my surprise, I was very much discouraged from going into forensic pathology. Most people back then didn't even know what it was. Other physicians that I worked with, as well as my family, advised me not to waste my medical education. Obviously, I did it anyway. I did not waste my medical education, and I've never regretted it. Except, of course, every job has its problems. Before, no one would listen to me. But now, working in the morgue, there was no one to talk to me. And working in the morgue, seeing that last chapter of all sorts of differently lived lives, you really become a great observer of life. You just gather a lot of great lessons and stories. And this is similar to a career in patient care. You have a privileged and intimate look of the best and the worst of the human condition. But I soon found I had that problem. I wanted to talk about these fantastic lessons and stories that I accumulated, but no one would listen to me. I actually had a boss at the time that didn't like to talk to anyone, including me. And there is a reason some people go into forensics. They don't like to talk. But not me. And sure, I had to deal with police and lawyers, but they only wanted to know about, their cases. They didn't want to hear my stories or lessons. And I'd even go home and tell my first husband. I'd be all excited coming home from work, and he was a physician. I would say to him, I had the most interesting case today. This 29-year-old woman who'd suffered headaches most of her adult life, she was driving down the street, and she's pulling into the driveway. And he'd say, "Stop, I know how it ends, she dies." It was so frustrating. But my life changed again when forensics became popular in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Before that, popular culture really didn't know much about forensics. You're too young to remember. But I ended up as an unofficial consultant, basically because I like to talk, to novelists, journalists, magazine editors, TV show writers, because they didn't know forensics and they needed an expert. So I would kind of work them through adding these details to their writings. But I soon realized it really got boring because all they really cared about were sensationalizing homicides. It's a bit of a long story, but partly because I like to talk about forensics, I got a call from Discovery Network to do a pilot about a real-life forensic pathologist. But after talking with them, I initially said, "No, thank you, I don't need that," because really all they wanted to do a show about was homicides. Now, homicides, for the most part, in spite of what you see on true crime shows, and especially Dateline, which my husband likes to watch, they're not usually that interesting. They make them interesting, but they're usually not. And in reality, they make up only about 15% of my caseload. 40% are unexpected and unknown natural disease, and 30 to 40% accidents, and the rest suicide. Now, I agreed to do that series only if they would accurately show what a forensic pathologist really does. And also, I had to keep the scientific control over it, because they'd always want to change something that wasn't really medically accurate. And for me, the most interesting cases are those that end up in the morgue because of natural disease. sometimes because of no medical care, and sometimes in spite of great medical care. I wanted to show them that I was fascinated with everyone's story, both how they lived and why they died. So I guess really my career has come full circle because I finally got to tell people through my TV show and my stories of death how their life choices, as never bothering to check your blood pressure, or not taking your blood pressure because you're feeling just fine, or using your seatbelt wrong, or ignoring red flag symptoms, drug misuse, or alcohol misuse, how all these poor choices can end up causing death. And we did shows on all those topics. Riveting. And I guess some people were actually finally listening to me because I got many people writing me, telling me I'd changed their lives. They actually would write and tell me, oh, I'm going to start taking my blood pressure medicine now. And sometimes even crediting me for saving their lives. That's an unlikely thing to hear for someone who works exclusively with the dead. Now, just as my career, your career will be a journey, let me tell you. It will not end up like exactly how you think it's going to be. Your life and career will interact in unpredictable ways. Practicing medicine will change you. The awesome responsibilities you'll soon have, seeing your patients die, occasionally realizing you didn't make the best decision, being touched by the good you do for people, it will all change you. So embrace change. Continual change in medicine is a given, both personally and within our knowledge base, as you know, and including the rapid evolving systems of practice. With change, though, comes stress. Don't let it wear you down. I saw it wear down many of my physician friends. Try to constantly improve as a physician and a person. Now, as far as changing, just to let you know, as I mentioned earlier, one reason I got out of internal medicine was all those angry people. They were all at the VA. And surprisingly, I learned I had to deal with just as many, if not more, angry people in forensic pathology. Well, now I actually enjoy dealing with angry members, family members, because now I see it differently. I see it as a challenge and a service to try to truly listen to them, to get to the root cause of why they're angry, usually me or my office, and to try to see if I can reframe that with facts, to have them look at things differently, to have them come less angry. So my pragmatic advice for you is to think about your career choices carefully. Don't be afraid to change your path if it's not a good fit. Almost 20% of new physicians will change direction in some way after their internship. If you find yourself burning out kind of later in your career, think back to what aspects of the field drew you to it and maximize those aspects. We need good people in medicine. There are infinite ways to practice medicine that benefit society. You just need to find one. There is no question that medicine is a difficult profession, but medicine is also the greatest profession. You are today entering a profession that is like no other. It is truly a privilege to make a career of helping others in such an intimate way. Our profession affords us enormous rights and responsibilities, as well as being intellectually challenging, emotionally fulfilling. And for the most part, in spite of what I say, physicians continually are really appreciated by their patients, their families, and society. Your knowledge and skills are needed. Thus, you actually no longer need to find a purpose in life. You may not feel it or be thankful for it, but every day you will make a difference in someone's life, even if it's just because you showed compassion to one of your patients, or you actually did something as easy as read the chest x-ray as negative. That all will have an impact for somebody. When you're having a bad day and perhaps feeling underappreciated, or worse yet, feeling like you're not accomplishing anything, you actually are accomplishing something. Everything you do in medicine will make a difference to someone. And I want you to remember on those bad days that practicing medicine is a team effort. You cannot and will not practice it alone. And today, you become part of the team that's changed civilization by increasing life expectancy from 50 years to 80 years in just over the past century. Our team has changed diabetes, AIDS, and end-stage renal disease from death sentences to manageable chronic illnesses. Our team's developed joint replacement procedures that has freed millions of older people from dependency and disability. And now you're a part of the team that treats children with leukemia and fully expects them to survive and thrive instead of watching them die, as it happened at the beginning of my career. You need to continually remind yourself during your career what this world would be like without the practice of modern, science-based medicine. Over your career, take joy in little successes. Rejoice in clinical triumphs. Forgive yourself when things do not go as expected. Learn to forgive yourself. Because although we all strive for this, no one's the perfect physician. I want to leave you with one last lesson. And I started thinking, this is the last lesson you'll learn in medical school. So that my one last lesson that I've learned from my career, every day, I walk into a room of dead bodies. All of those people were alive the day before, some of them hours before. Nobody expected to be in that morgue that day, except me. It's a lesson that has kept me happy throughout my career, that I live life in a state of gratefulness that I am still alive. If you do that, live in a state of gratefulness for being alive, you will find meaning and purpose in the day and really make that day count. So I want you to go forth with gratefulness, purpose, persistence, and you will more likely have a happy life and career, and that is what will make you a success. So God bless, good luck, and congratulations on this huge accomplishment.
Thank you, Dr. Garavaglia, for that inspiring presentation. We will now proceed with the recognition of our graduates and the vesting of their doctoral hoods. The color, or colors, with which the hood is constructed indicate two characteristics of the degree. The satin lining is that of the college or university which granted the wearer's degree. St. Louis University is known by the blue chevron on a field of white. The velvet edging signifies the field of study of the faculty granting the degree. Dark blue, the Doctor of Philosophy degree, and green, representing a faculty of medicine. For the recipients of Doctor of Medicine, I will call each student by name and announce the specialty they have selected and the location of their advanced training. You will find the honors and awards earned by each student listed throughout the program. This year, the students were given the opportunity to identify faculty, family, and mentors to bestow their doctoral hoods. If you are present on the floor to hood a student, please join your student when they rise to approach the stage prior to their name being called. The marshals will assist in guiding you toward the stage. Additionally, we have two faculty who will assist in bestowing hoods to our students. 4 and sometimes more years ago, these faculty oversaw the recruitment and matriculation of the class of 2025. And it is only fitting that our Associate Dean of Admissions, Dr. Hiro Choksi, and our Assistant Dean of Admissions, Dr. Marilyn Maxwell, experience the full circle of your medical education. Students, please remember to bring your note card to the stage with you. If you have an invited hooder, please hand them your hood prior to stepping on the stage. Otherwise, you will hand your hood to either Dr. Choksi or Dr. Maxwell, and they will bestow the hood on you. From there, please process across the stage to Dean Jacobs and Dr. Garavaglia, and then down the ramp and back to your seats. Students wearing green and gold cords are those who are members of the Alpha Omega Alpha Medical Honor Society. Marshals, please start to escort our first row of students to the stage. Drs. Choksi and Maxwell, please take your places on the stage, and Drs. Jacobs and Garavaglia, please join down on the marks to greet the graduates. Shivika Ahuja, Pediatrics, University of Washington. Arnolfo Ahumada, Transitional Year, William Beaumont Army Medical Center. Alborz Alamadadi, Anesthesiology, University of Utah. Sajni Amin, Internal Medicine, University of Cincinnati. Elizabeth Shufang Anderson, Pediatrics, University of Utah. Tyler Arismendi, Diagnostic Radiology, Yale New Haven. Yasmin Imad Ayub, General Surgery, Henry Ford Hospital. Sumona Udayan Banerjee, Internal Medicine, Rush University. Samantha Jane Bartholow, Internal Medicine, Rush University. Sandeep Bisabathina, Internal Medicine, Meharry Medical College. Jeffrey Michael Batag, Neurology, Vanderbilt University. Claire Rose Boehm, Internal Medicine, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Caitlin May Borick, Ophthalmology, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Allison Borsati, Anesthesiology, Northwestern. Patrick Joseph Brotherton, Internal Medicine, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Catherine Wood Bruckner, General Surgery, Henry Ford St. John Hospital. Stephen Alfred Rudy Castillo, Internal Medicine, Walter Reed National Medical Center. Simvrudi Lokesh Cherry Manning, Dermatology, University Hospital, Columbia, Missouri. Brett Eugene Chavaria, Family Medicine, UCLA Medical Center. Nishtha Chavda, Pediatrics, St. Louis Children's Hospital. Tiffany Fung, Family Medicine, Keck School of Medicine, USC. Amanda Joanne Ferrito, Pediatrics, Medical College of Wisconsin. Alec Michael Falkenhayn, Diagnostic Radiology, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Logan Dorsey, Emergency Medicine, Carolinas Medical Center. Tai Nguyen Phuc Dinh, Pediatrics, Oregon Health and Sciences. Christopher Dilley, Diagnostic Radiology, UCLA. Amy Valentine DeVite, Family Medicine, KCU GME Consortium. Ekamjit Singh Diol, Urology, University of Texas, Galveston. Catherine Elizabeth DeHogue, Obstetrics and Gynecology, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Gavin Robert DeFisser, Neurology, Wake Forest Medical Center. Lorraine Claire Perez de Velez, Internal Medicine, Zucker School of Medicine, Northwell, New York. Kaylee Brooke Davis, Urology, Naval Medical Center. Trent Harrison Davids, Pathology, University of Chicago Medical Center. Emily K. Zarnick, Pediatrics, St. Louis Children's Hospital. James Christian Cuellar, Internal Medicine, Henry Ford Hospital. Alexander Cotter, Internal Medicine, University of Hawaii. PJ Connor, Emergency Medicine, University of Texas at Austin Dell Medical School. Alexis Cole, Pediatrics, Vanderbilt University. Paige M. Colbert, Pediatrics, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Osha Chestnut Perry, Psychiatry, Mount Sinai Hospital. Johan Petrov Ganef, Neurology, University of Chicago Medical Center. Grace Angel Garcia, Emergency Medicine, Eisenhower Medical Center. Jonathan Anthony Garza, Anesthesiology, Baylor Scott and White, Baylor College of Medicine. Julian Anthony Giacchis, Urology, Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. Kaushik Gokul, Internal Medicine, Wake Forest Medical Center. Tyreek Trey Good, General Surgery, Detroit Medical Center, Sinai Grace Hospital. Varun Gopinath, Orthopedic Surgery, Oregon Health and Sciences University. Emily Guagliardo, Neurology, Barnes Jewish Hospital. Tori Guan, Family Medicine, University of California, San Francisco. Megan Leanne Halloran, Obstetrics and Gynecology, Tufts Medical Center. Navreet Chalak Chanu, Neurology, University of Texas, San Antonio. Manasa Handadi, Internal Medicine, Kaiser Permanente, San Francisco. Luke Daniel Highland, Otolaryngology, Baylor College of Medicine. Lana Lee Herman, Pediatrics, University of Chicago. Veronica Hodorovich, internal medicine, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Alexander Hoffman, orthopedic surgery, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Connor Martin Honan, interventional radiology, University of Colorado School of Medicine. Leighton Alexander Hope, internal medicine, Northwestern. Julia Rose Hughes, internal medicine, Loyola University. Brenton Dillon Hui, physical medicine and rehabilitation, VA Greater Health System, LA. Subin Jang, neurology, Tulane University. Mayuri Jayaraman, urology, University of California, Irvine. Christy Jade Pong Lai Jacques, internal medicine and pediatrics, University of Illinois, Chicago. Sarah Mahler, child neurology, University of Michigan. Gianna Mashor, pediatrics, psychiatry, and child psychiatry, University of Utah Health. Yangqing Liu, internal medicine, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Brittany Nicole Lubeck, internal medicine, University of Nebraska. Justin Locke, psychiatry, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Nathan Daniel Logan, internal medicine and pediatrics, University of Rochester, New York. Jessica Ann Liebeck, internal medicine, Barnes Jewish Hospital. Victoria Ann Liang, family medicine, Sutter Medical Center of Santa Rosa, California. Tony Yu Lee, Research Fellowship, Northwestern University, Chicago. Judy Lau, Psychiatry, Meredith Medical Center, Maryland. Megan Elizabeth Lance, Pediatrics, University of Colorado, Denver. Michelle Renee Kroc, Obstetrics and Gynecology, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Yusuf Kadzi, Interventional Radiology, Loma Linda University. Yushin Kim, Psychiatry, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Joshua Subin Kim, Ophthalmology, Cook County. Reston Keller, General Surgery, Henry Ford Hospital. Sanya Vishal Career, Psychiatry, California Pacific Medical Center. Jis Maria Carrickle, Neurology, University of Illinois, Chicago. Megan Kimberly Kalinowski, Pediatrics, Cincinnati Children's Hospital. Margot Khan, Neurology, University of Washington. Joshua Julian, Emergency Medicine, Nellis Air Force Base, University of Nevada. Ankita Joshi, Family Medicine, Swedish Medical Center, Washington. Sindhu Manivanan, Family Medicine, University of Minnesota. Amir Mana, Internal Medicine, Advocate Healthcare, Illinois. Patricia Catherine Mansfield, Dermatology, University of Texas at Austin Dell Medical School. Andrew Michael Marino, Family Medicine, Travis Air Force Base. Brett Martin, Internal Medicine, University of Arizona, Tucson. Hala Far Matanrad, Family Medicine, University of Colorado, Denver. Neil Sunil Madawala, internal medicine, Rush University Medical Center. Abdullah Mazhar, internal medicine, Mercy Health, Illinois. Brooke Lynn McCollum, general surgery, Loyola University. Caroline McDonald, family medicine, HCA Healthcare, Kansas City. Rachel Vivian Michalowski, internal medicine, Rush University. Blake Miyamoto, diagnostic radiology, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Addison Cooper Moon, pediatrics, University of Virginia. Jonathan Kalade Otofalu, psychiatry, University of California, Riverside. Catherine Aaron O'Leary, interventional radiology, Barnes Jewish Hospital. Mackenzie Joe Olson, pediatrics, University of Utah. Hannah Clarissa Peng, pediatrics, University of California, San Diego. Bernard Paul Parrish III, internal medicine, University of Utah. Ami Patel, psychiatry, Rush University. John V. Manish Patel, internal medicine, Rush University. Shruti Patel, pediatrics, University of Washington. Jinkle Bharat Kumar Patel, internal medicine, Advocate Healthcare, Illinois. Nikita Rachel Paramsetti, obstetrics and gynecology, University of Kansas. Catherine Page Snow, dermatology, Ohio State. Allison Rachel Schultz, internal medicine, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Samuel A. Shakora, Psychiatry, Rush University. Yasmin Shohin, Pediatrics, University of Texas Southwestern. Ayana Osatahana Shambe, Obstetrics and Gynecology, University of New Mexico. Aliyah Lene Severe Gogan, General Surgery, University of Hawaii. Nicholas Joseph Shaper, Vascular Surgery, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Sandra Samuel, Neurology, University of Colorado, Denver. Ryan Dante Rossi, Diagnostic Radiology, Santa Clara Valley Medical Center. Morgan Joan Ross, Diagnostic Radiology, Northwestern. Miriam Ripkin, Obstetrics and Gynecology, Carl Foundation Hospital. Joseph Michael Resnikoff, Pediatrics, St. Louis Children's Hospital. Yanira Margarita Reynaga, Emergency Medicine, University of California, San Francisco. Matthew James Reveal, Preliminary Surgery, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Arthur Isaac Rendon, Internal Medicine Methodist Healthcare System. Justin Raymond Rader, Neurology, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Michael Anthony Rector, Pediatrics, University of Washington. Ananya Ravi, Internal Medicine, University of Utah. Punya Jaya Ramesh, Pediatrics, Nationwide Children's Hospital. Uma Ramaratnam, Internal Medicine Pediatrics, University of Southern California. Saksham Pruthi, Junior Orthopedic Research Fellowship, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Kayla Przelski, Surgery Preliminary, Jefferson Einstein. Kayla Maria Pinkney, Neurology, Walter Reed Medical Center. Min Nat Pham, Pediatrics, Loma Linda University. Olivia Spady, Obstetrics and Gynecology, Penn State Hershey Medical Center. Megan Turstig, Orthopedic Surgery, University of Minnesota. Jasmine Jayesh Thakur, Internal Medicine, Emory University. Charles Sumner Thomas, Anesthesiology, University Hospital, Jackson, Mississippi. Shreya Thasu, Internal Medicine, Yale, New Haven. Maxwell Lee Todd, Interventional Radiology, University of Colorado. Matthew Klaus Philip Choate, Internal Medicine, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Camden Edward Treat, Surgery Preliminary, Rush University. Rohan Haresh Tripathi, Internal Medicine, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Shannon Singh, Internal Medicine, University of Southern California. Gir Javaidia, Urology, Creighton University. Madeline Elizabeth Valdez, Psychiatry, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Jensen Jacob Vaiolo, Emergency Medicine, University of Illinois, Chicago. Megha Verma, Anesthesiology, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Jennifer Samantha Villa, Emergency Medicine, Indiana University. David James Viox, Internal Medicine, Medical University of South Carolina. Michael J. Vogel, Orthopedic Surgery, Mayo Clinic School of Medicine. Kelsey Noel Voigt, in Obstetrics and Gynecology, Marshall University. Brady Augustus Wallstrom, Diagnostic Radiology, SSM Health, St. Louis University. Kevin Gregory West, Diagnostic Radiology, Brooke Army Medical Center. Hans Wilbert, Orthopedic Surgery, Rutgers Johnson Medical Center. Medical School. Caroline Christine Wright, Internal Medicine, Barnes Jewish Hospital. Nicholas Xingying Wu, Internal Medicine, Santa Clara Valley Medical Center. James Yang, Diagnostic Radiology, Loma Linda University. Kevin Yu, Family Medicine, UC Irvine. Megan Elizabeth Zierold, Obstetrics and Gynecology, Virginia Commonwealth University. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to present to you the St. Louis University School of Medicine, Class of 2025. I would now like to invite Executive Council President Shivika Ahuja, Executive Council Vice President Connor Honan, as well as Class of 2025 Co-Presidents Christy Jack and Hala Machanran to the stage to give the farewell address to the Class of 2025.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shivika Ahuja, and with me is Connor Honan, and we had the privilege of serving as the student body president and vice president for this past year. To our faculty, families, friends, and most importantly, my classmates, thank you all for being here. Today isn't just about a degree. It's about everything that took to get here. The late nights, the thousands of Anki cards, the tough rotations, and the quiet moments when we questioned if we were cut out for any of this. We started this journey as strangers, hoping we'd find our place. And now, 4 years later, somehow, we've become doctors. Not just by learning medicine, but by learning how to be kind, how to stay grounded, and how to show up for people even when we're running on fumes. The first people we learned to show up for were each other. As we were welcomed to the SLU SOM community, we collaborated and overcame our first challenges, including nervously stepping into the gross anatomy lab and sitting on the edge of our seats each time Neil's wheel went for a spin. We shared which sketchy videos were helpful in learning countless bugs and drugs during IPT and continue to venture into the realm of third-party resources. Our tight-knit community spent time apart while each prepared for our first USMLE board exam before we all earned the right to enter the hospital as clerkship students. What I find most remarkable about what I've just said is that only focuses on our legacy in the classroom. For the past years, I've been in awe of what our classmates have accomplished outside of the classroom. Some of our classmates move across the country to attend SLU SOM and enter the medical profession. Some of us gave up vacations and breaks to pursue research and shadowing opportunities to further our careers. Some of our classmates trained to run marathons. Some of our classmates welcomed new family members and raised children while in medical school. While we studied for class and prepared for board exams, life went on. And it amazes me that I've been part of a community that cares so deeply about their patients and their families while enriching and enjoying their own personal lives.
There were long days, tough losses, and plenty of laughs along the way. One moment that's really stuck with me was during my surgery rotation. An attending was rapid firing, pimping me with questions, and I was struggling to keep up. Fumbling over my answers, second-guessing myself. We've all been there. We all know that feeling very well. He could tell I was overwhelmed, and he paused and said, "Don't worry, I'm not any smarter than you. I've just been doing this for longer." It was a relief to hear that at the time, but looking back, it means even more to me now. It reminded me that no matter how far we go in medicine, we were all once a student on the other side. And it's our responsibility to remember that, to teach with patience, to lead with humility, and to lift up the people coming after us, just like so many people have done for us. That's how this profession keeps growing, not just through knowledge, but through generosity and grace. And today, before our next chapter begins, I just want to say, take a moment, look around, soak it in. We've all come so far from those first anxious steps into medical school. It's easy to keep looking ahead to the next challenge, the next step, but today is worth pausing for. We all have accomplished something incredible. I'm going to take a moment and just say, "Hi, Mom." To our families and loved ones, thank you for sticking with us through the long days, the stress, and all the ways this journey asks you to be patient with us. Your support means everything. To our mentors and instructors, thank you for showing us not just how to treat patients, but how to treat people. To the deans and dean staff, our class cannot thank you enough for acting as a guide over the past 4 years. As we scatter across the country for residency, we'll all be doing different things in different places, but what we shared, this training, these friendships, this chapter of our lives, we'll carry that with ourselves forever. There will be hard days ahead, but if we made it this far, we've already proven that we can handle what's next. So here's to the class of 2025, future surgeons, pediatricians, radiologists, and everything in between. We did it. And I truly believe the world is a better off place because we're in it. Congratulations.
Good morning, everyone. We finally made it. After 4+ years, we are finally sitting here with our graduation regalia and surrounded by our loved ones. For family and friends who may not know us, my name is Hala Matinrod.
And my name is Christy Jock.
And we are the co-class presidents of this incredible graduating class. Thank you all for being here and joining us in celebrating our accomplishment.
If you had told me on May 5th, 2021, that one day I'd be standing here in front of you all, alongside my best friend and co-president, having matched in one of my favorite cities and in the specialty of my dreams, I wouldn't have believed you. At that time, I had still not gotten into medical school, despite hoping to matriculate within the next 2 months. Forced by the reality of time ticking away, I had started to plan a plan B, when I received a life-changing email from Dr. Choksi telling me I was getting my chance. I remember feeling an overwhelming mix of emotions, pure excitement that my dream of becoming a physician in the United States was finally within reach, and a deep, gnawing fear of the unknown. I quickly Googled St. Louis, and what I found online didn't do much to calm my nerves. Aside from the warnings about safety, I also quickly realized that I'd need to learn how to drive, a skill I had written off as completely unnecessary for my future. Little did I know, SLU is the only place that could have shaped me into the physician that I'm so proud to be becoming. The start of medical school was not the only time I had felt that feeling. After opening my letter on match day, I felt that familiar pit in my stomach. Excitement about the prospect of finally being paid, but also immense anxiety about leaving the home we have created here and the family I've found within you all. I noticed that although this feeling felt familiar, it was different this time. Under the overwhelming weight of the unknown, I noticed a deeper sense of belief in myself and you all, knowing what we have accomplished together. As a class, we endured the growing pains of being the first to have our preclinical years fully shortened to 1.5. We were the second class to face the unknown ERAS landscape with a pass-fail Step 1 score. We witnessed the transition of many deans and particularly felt the going and the return of Neil and Father Dr. Duffy, all in our 4 short years. Through TBLs, Neil's Wheel, clinical rotations, dedicated, and more, we thrived and stayed united. As I look around, I hope that those of you who can relate to this feeling of apprehension can take a little bit of the comfort and inspiration that you all give me. Seeing firsthand how you all have grown inside and outside of the classroom, and having had the privilege to hear how highly the faculty and deans speak of our class has been an immense privilege. We have come out the other side, a group of physicians I am incredibly proud to be a part of.
At 95 years old, my grandfather, an immigrant from Iran, continues to remind me of the beauty in this world. He often reflects on how the earth has been here long before us and will remain long after we've left. But more importantly, he reminds me that the time that we do have here is precious. It's our chance to leave a mark, and we already have. The lives we've touched before medical school and the dedication we've shown throughout the journey is nothing short of extraordinary. I have no doubt that our futures are just as bright. This weekend, we walk away with MDs behind our names, 2 small letters that carry enormous responsibility. To do no harm, first and foremost, but beyond that, a responsibility to practice medicine with justice, to lead with compassion and service, to speak with courage and advocate for those without a voice. We are entering this profession at a time of profound pain and injustice within our own communities and across the world as we witness the atrocities occurring in Palestine. And yet, I continue to hold hope for what our generation of physicians will bring. Our voices are louder now than they've ever been, and with that comes the responsibility to use them wisely. To my grandfather, medicine is one of the most influential careers one can choose, and he's right. From this day forward, we hold ourselves to a higher standard. Christy and I cannot wait to see the impact this class will have, from right here in St. Louis to the places we'll soon call home and residency, and the global communities we will one day serve.
To the faculty and staff, a huge thank you for your unwavering commitment to our growth and well-being. You all have not only imparted knowledge, but have also instilled the values of empathy, resilience, and lifelong curiosity. Your belief in our potential has fueled our drive to achieve more than we ever thought possible, and we know that we will always have a home at SLU with you.
Families, friends, and loved ones, thank you for your unconditional love and support. We could not have made it without you by our side. As you well know, medical school is a grueling journey, and it is not just us students who have made sacrifices. You did as well. Thank you for serving as our strongest supporters and #1 fans. Your confidence in us is what brought us to the finish line and will continue to push us through our future endeavors. We love you all.
And finally, to the class of 2025, it is truly to you all that we owe the most. It has been our greatest honor to serve as your class presidents. Growing and flourishing alongside you has been the biggest privilege, and we truly aren't ready to let you all go. We are lucky to have most of your contact information for future consults, and you know where to find us. Whether it is to talk about family medicine or med-peds or just life, we would love to hear from you, and when we call with our questions, which we will surely have, we truly hope you answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivika, Connor, Christy, and Hala, for all of your dedication to the class of 2025 and the School of Medicine. We will now proceed with the recitation of the Hippocratic Oath. It is our tradition that the graduating seniors choose the physician whom they would like to lead them in this pronouncement. This year, they have chosen to invite Dr. Chad Miller, Senior Associate Dean of Undergraduate Medical Education. Please welcome to the podium, Dr. Miller.
Will the graduating seniors and any physicians in the audience who would like to join them please stand? You will find the words of the oath inside the front cover of the program. Now, being admitted to the profession of medicine and dedicating my life to service. Class 25, come with me here. Upon my honor and before God, I freely make these promises. I will carry out that regimen which, according to my power and discernment, shall be for the benefit of my patients. I will keep them from harm and wrong. To none will I give a deadly drug, even if solicited, nor offer counsel to such an end. I will maintain the utmost respect for all human life. I will respect and show gratitude to my deserving teachers and as far as I can reasonably shall teach the art and science of medicine by precept, lecture, and other modes of instruction to those who are worthy. My own life and my professional practice I will keep guiltless and right. Even under threat, I will not use my knowledge contrary to moral law. I will keep silence regarding that which, within or without my practice, I shall see or hear in the lives of others which should not be made public, holding such things unsuitable to be spoken. When skill or knowledge greater than mine will benefit my patient, I will seek assistance or advice, nor will I refuse my aid or my counsel to other physicians. I will not permit considerations of race, religion, nationality, party politics, social standing, or financial circumstances to interfere with my attending my patients. I will maintain the honor and noble traditions of the medical profession and forward its highest ideals. As long as I shall keep these promises inviolate, May I continue the practice of my profession and be respected for all time. Should I violate them, may the reverse be my lot.
Please be seated. Graduates, now let us recognize those individuals who provided unconditional support through your journey and deserve our thanks. Parents of graduates, congratulations. What a remarkable journey to see your sons and daughters accomplish this prominent achievement. Graduates, many parents have watched you grow and mature into the professionals that you are today. You have indeed made them proud. The sacrifices have been many, and today the reward is great. Would the parents of the graduates please stand and be recognized? Partners and children of graduates, you have been an integral part of the career development. Few know the sacrifices of a medical student until you live with them day and night. Thank you for your consistent love and support. Partners and children of graduates, please stand and be recognized. And family members, brothers, sisters, relatives, and friends who've been there for our graduates in so many different ways. Please stand so that we may recognize you. And faculty, you've devoted your careers to medical education, and the fruits of your labors are evident in this graduating class. Thank you for your contributions. Please stand and be recognized. Doctors, physicians, and graduates of St. Louis University School of Medicine, we've been honored to be your teachers and colleagues over the last 4 years. We hope that you will go forward with the curiosity to seek the answers to clinical questions each day and the honesty to admit the limits of your knowledge to patients and peers. Above all, we know that you will treat each patient, staff, and colleague with respect and compassion. With this cura personalis, care for the whole person, you, our newest physician colleagues, will bring the world the best of St. Louis University to the world.
I would now like to invite the School of Medicine Chorus to please come forward for our benediction.
sunshine warm upon your face, the rains fall soft upon your fields, and until we meet again, may God, may God, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. May God hold you in the palm of his hand.
Thank you for that wonderful benediction. I would like to thank our pre-commencement day marshals, Drs. Austin Dalrymple, Shannon Graybosch, and Cynthia Niebel, and Ms. Judy Renner-Slimmet, who helped coordinate today's ceremony. I ask you all to please remain in your seats until the stage party, followed by the School of Medicine faculty and guest hooders, followed by the graduates have exited. Bless you all and have a safe and remarkable journey. Class of 2025, please rise. Please join me in one last congratulations to the class of St. Louis University School of Medicine class of 2025.